Greetings one and all, welcome to our YouTube channel, Searching Out the Matter, and the matter that we're searching out in this video is Nanny, a hero or a traitor, and the Maroons, friends or foes. And the sources that we're going to use today is JIS, Jamaica Information Service, and Wikipedia, and also Richard Corey, a Maroon himself. An interview that was done on Rushelin YouTube channel. Please check it out. Deuteronomy 19:15 reminds us that a single witness shall not rise up against a man on account of any iniquity or sin which he has committed, but on the evidence of two or three witnesses a matter shall be confirmed. Let's search. This is from JIS, Jamaica Information Service, and it reads, a leader of the Maroons at the beginning of the 18th century. She was known both by the Maroons and the British settlers as an outstanding military leader who became, in her lifetime and after, a symbol of unity, strength for her people during times of crisis. She was particularly important to them in the fierce fight with the British during the First Maroon War from 1720 to 1739. Although she has been immortalized in songs and legend, certain facts about Nanny, or Granny Nanny as she was affectionately known, have also been documented. Both legends and documents refer to her as having exceptional leadership qualities. She was small, wiry, woman with piercing eyes. Her influence over the Maroons was so strong that it seemed to be supernatural and was said to be connected to her powers of Obeah. She was particularly skilled in organizing the guerrilla warfare carried out by the Eastern Maroons to keep away the British troops who attempt to penetrate the mountains to overpower them. Her cleverness in planning guerrilla warfare confused the British, and their accounts of the fight reflect the surprise and fear which the Maroon troops caused among them. Besides inspiring her people to ward off the troops, Nanny was also a type of chiefess or wise woman of the village who passed down legends and encouraged the continuation of customs, musics, and songs that had come with the people from Africa, and which instilled in them confidence and pride. Her spirit of freedom was so great that in 1739, when Kwa signed the second treaty, the first was signed by Cudjoe for the Leeward Maroons a few months earlier with the British. It is reported that Nanny was very angry and in disagreement with the principle of peace with the British, which she knew meant another form of subjugation. There are many legends about Nanny among the Maroons. Some even claim that there were several women who were leaders of the Maroons during the period of history. But all the legends and documents refer to Nanny of the First Maroon War as the most outstanding of them all, leading her people with courage and inspiring them to struggle to maintain that spirit of freedom and life of independence, which was their rightful inheritance. On March 31st, 1982, the Right Excellent Nanny of the Maroons was conferred the Order of the National Hero as per Government Notice 23, Jamaica Gazette, along with Sam Sharp. Jamaica Information Service mentioned her as Granny Nanny and her as a warrior and chiefess, but vaguely mentioned in the treaty. Little was said about the treaty, so let's check our other sources. Let's turn to Wikipedia. It reads, Queen Nanny, Granny Nanny, or Nanny of the Maroon, was an 18th century leader of the Jamaican Maroons. She led a community of formerly enslaved Africans called the Windward Maroons. In the early 18th century, under the leadership of Nanny, the Windward Maroons fought a guerrilla war over many years against the British authorities in the colony of Jamaica in what became known as the First Maroon War. Much of what is known about her comes from oral history, as little textual evidence exists. According to the Maroon legend, Queen Nanny was born in what is today Ghana of the Akans people. According to the oral tradition and at least one documentary source, she was never enslaved, although widely assumed that she arrived in Jamaica as a slave. How she arrived in Jamaica is not certain. Well, we're not going to read all of the paragraph, so you can pause the screen and read the rest. But let's move on. So the following are the origin of Nanny, the Jamaican Maroons, the Windward Maroons, the First Maroon War, the military tactics, these of which Jamaica Information Service vaguely touch upon, but Wikipedia found it fit to go into more details. You can pause the screen and read it. What we really want to know is about the treaty. Now to the treaty. When the British signed a treaty with Kodjo in 1739, this success allowed them to offer a less favorable treaty to the Windward Maroons. Representatives of the British governor in Jamaica signed a treaty with the Windward Maroons in 1740 between the colonial authorities and Kwa, who later became one of the leaders of Crawford Town. Moving on. In addition, later that year, there was a separate land grant signed with Nanny and the Maroons of Nanny Town, which granted Nanny and the people now residing with her and their heirs a certain part of land containing 500 acres in the parish of Portland. Continuing, in the new Nanny Town, Maroons, like those of Kodjo and Kwa, agreed not to harbor new runaway slaves, but to help catch them for bounties. The Maroons were also expected to fight with the British in case of an attack from the French or the Spanish. In signing the treaties with the Maroons, the British not only made a truce with a troublesome foe, but also enlisted that foe in capturing runaway slaves. The colonial authorities initially recognized two Maroon towns, Crawford Town, Kodjo Town, later to be renamed Trelawney Town. Eventually, there were 5 Maroon towns in the 18th century: Accompong Town, Trelawney Town, Charlestown, Scott Hall, and Nanny Town, later Moortown, living under their own chief with a British supervisor in each town. In exchange, they agreed not to harbor new runaway slaves, but to help catch them for bounties. The Maroons were also expected to fight for the British in the case of an attack from the French or the Spanish. Talk about subjugation. Wow! Given all that information, now let's hear from a Maroon himself.
So explain to me now, how do we have these different Maroon settlements? Because there's one in Portland and there's, how do, outside of the cockpit country, since that is what's recognized in the treaty?
In the 1738 treaty.
Yeah,
so,
how do we get Maroons now in the different parishes?
Alright, so the Maroon territory spanned right through the spine of the island that went into the Blue Mountain Range, right? And so you have the Leeward Maroons and you have the Windward Maroons, right? So in the 1738 treaty, it spoke to the Leeward Maroons, which is the Accompong, Flagstaff, Maroon Town communities. The Windward Maroons, Portland, that's Moortown, Nanny Town.
Gotcha.
Right? And it's important to note that all these communities were formed by Grandy Nanny. Grandy Nanny. Of the war,
yeah, so how do
not
we, like,
the Maroons.
How do we win over those people to say that, we understand that happened, but it was under that circumstance, and today we're...
So that's the thing. I'm saying to you that for what they would have said happened, to me, it's making a lot more out of... It's a lot of rumors that are taken into perspectives as history. I'm not saying that there weren't tribes of people out there who were capturing and returning people to the plantations for bounty, right? This existed. I mean, think about it today. You have a structured organization, but you also have rogue entities, right? So of course, anything that is happening outside of what the British could control was defined as Maroon. You follow me? So, in essence, I'm not saying it didn't happen, or what they say or claim to have happened didn't happen. I'm saying for us, the Maroons, we were warriors, right? We were protectors, right? We welcomed who joined us, right? And there were other sects of people who were also playing a role similar to the Maroons and doing things contrary to the Maroons.
But the Maroons did sell themselves or their brothers to the British.
So
Did they or did they not?
so the Africans would have sold their brothers to the British
Gotcha.
to become slaves. They were taken here to become slaves. A part of the treaty speaks to the Maroons agreeing to return any runaway slaves that would join post signing of the treaty. That was not always the case. So that is the part that is really causing the
Did the Maroons recapture slaves and bring to the British for money? Though unwillingly, but still admit to the terms of the treaty to recapture runaway slaves for money.
Jamaicans and Maroons and freedom. What was freedom and what did freedom look like? Without the Maroons, there'd be no freedom. Were the terms of freedom perfect? No, they weren't. But it was the closest semblance of freedom at that point.
Right.
So the sacrifice of other slaves' freedom for your own freedom, is that right? Is that a warrior mentality?
Dirty Bookman, a Maroon, left here, went to Haiti, right, and helped start the Haitian Revolution. They said the Haitians were the first free. No, we helped them.
So the hundred, if not millions of your own countrymen, women and children that wanted the Maroons' help to stay free, were they not worth the risk? In Haiti, slave and free people bonded together to end slavery. So if the Maroons were brave as how they thought, they would have refused the treaty with such disgraceful clause and fought with the slave and end slavery for Jamaica, just like Haiti. The Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804. Let's read. Led by the former slave Toussaint L. Oversaw, the enslaved would act first, rebelling against the planters on August 21st, 1791. By 1792, they control a third of the island. Despite reinforcement from France, the area of the colony held by the rebels grew as did the violence on both sides. Before the fighting ended, 100,000 of the 500,000 blacks and 24,000 of the 40,000 whites were killed. Nonetheless, the former slave managed to stave off the French forces and the British, who arrived in 1793 to conquer the colony, and who withdrew in 1798 after a series of defeats by El Overture forces. By 1801, Overture expanded the revolution beyond Haiti, conquering the neighboring Spanish colony of Santo Domingo, present-day Dominican Republic. He abolished slavery in the Spanish-speaking colony and declared himself Governor General for life over the entire island of Hispania. So the treaty didn't just give the Maroons freedom, it made them sellouts. In terms of, even during the rebellion of Paul Bogle, the Maroons of Moortown captured Paul Bogle. Let's read. The Jamaican Maroons from Moortown, Nanny Town, captured Paul Bogle on behalf of the British military and delivered him to the colonial authorities. He was tried under martial law and quickly executed, as were many others including women, and brought back to Morant Bay to be tried under martial law. Gordon was convicted of conspiracy and hung on 23rd of October. So we can see clearly that the Maroons were allies with the British. Let's go to the Observer. This was published on Friday, June 11, 2021. But this article was from 2012. It reads, Maroons defiant, won't apologize for suppressing Morant Bay rebellion. It reads, Paul Bogle, the leader of the rebellion and now national hero, was captured by Maroons and handed over to the British colonial authorities, who executed him by hanging him in front of the Morant Bay courthouse, which had been burnt during the riots. It continues, historians have consistently said that after the signing of the treaties between British and colonizers and Maroon communities in Jamaica, 1738 to 1740, the Maroons were repeatedly called on to suppress slave rebellions, as well as the Morant Bay Rebellion. Prior to the treaties signed separately between the Leewars and the Windward Maroons and the British Maroons had fought the British colonizers for 83 years from their villages in the Blue Mountain of eastern Jamaica and the Cockpit Country in the west. Their resistance has gained the Maroons legendary status in Jamaican history despite tensions related to their subsequent collaboration with the colonizers. So the big question is, why did Nanny become our national hero? What intrigued, what compelled our government to make her a national hero? When Nanny and the Maroons by and large sacrificed the freedom of slaves that include men, women, and children, what compelled our government in their parliamentary meeting to consider Nanny a national hero? When the Maroons themselves captured Parbogle and handed over to the British. Yes, she was a great warrior, and she fought against the British authorities for her people. No, Christopher Doodles Coke fought against authorities. During his reign, JCF could not enter into the valley. He also feed and protect his people. Is he a national hero? Should we then make him a national hero 50 years from now when the truth is suppressed and watered down? Certainly not. No, Nanny should be a hero for the Maroons, not for Jamaica. Well, this is my opinion. Viewers, subscribers, listeners, what's yours?